Hello friends, and welcome into our weekly update for this week ending May the 22nd, Friday, May the 22nd. It has been another busy week. There's a fourth person at the table this week. We're going to introduce you to him right now. Tanner Flippin, our new summer intern for this year. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what we need to know about you.
Great, yeah. I'm Tanner from Mocksville, North Carolina, currently studying political science and public policy at Liberty University. Set to graduate next year at this time. Super blessed and honored to be here. Just a couple things about me. Super passionate about politics, both in the state and federal level. As I said, such an honor to be here. I'm hoping to learn and grow through this experience. Just already wonderful things through the past week, just being in the General Assembly and experiencing all the certain dynamics that you might not normally expect go into the crafting of legislation in our government. So overall, it's been awesome. Super honored and blessed to be here throughout the summer.
And we're excited to have you here. Several things happening at the building this week. Really quickly, since our last video, there has been an announced agreement on at least a framework for a state budget.
Kind of, sort of, maybe.
According to one timer in the building, I think it's been over 320 days since we've had a budget, or when it was supposed to be passed.
A new budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hopefully some headway on that, and so we'll continue to update you on that. One of the biggest pieces of news this week, John, from the North Carolina General Assembly is on HB 87 and the veto override on that bill. As you know, we've been reporting for some time that we were awaiting veto overrides, and this requires not necessarily electoral math, but math inside the chambers. In order to get this done, there has to be 3/5 majority, which turns out to be, I think, 73 people in the chamber. Is that how that works?
71. 72 in the House.
Yes.
And 30 in the Senate.
See, I'm not good at math nor English. HB 87 is a bill that helps gives those who are giving to scholarship granting organizations a tax credit.
Right. It's the Educational Choice for Children Act, which passed as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill in Congress last year, and it authorized states to basically opt into this federal tax credit program for educational credits. And so individuals can give up to $1,700 to the granting organizations and take a tax write-off for that. And so it's just a furtherance of providing school choice opportunities for students in North Carolina and across the country. And so the legislature passed this bill that would opt North Carolina in. The governor vetoed the bill, saying that he wanted to see how the framework for this program actually fleshed itself out, which is kind of yet to be done. It's still in progress, but the General Assembly was committed to pursuing this, and the House has overridden the governor's veto, and we certainly expect that the Senate will very likely do the same thing soon.
In the weeks to come.
Yep.
Jerry, there's a couple of other bills that we're looking at as well, some constitutional amendments. Now, these require the same 3/5 majority to pass these constitutional, or the ability for people to vote on a constitutional amendment?
That's right. The veto override, and then get to the technicalities, was 3/5 of those
present
and
voting.
Yes. So if it's a day when people are missing from the chamber, it doesn't require the 72.
Numbers matter.
Matt,
Yes.
I know you love me. Matt, I thought I would take us down into those weeds. Actually, the significant difference on the constitutional amendments, it's 3/5 of the membership of each chamber, the House and Senate. And so they actually, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, voted on 4 different proposed constitutional amendments. 2 of them that passed both chambers are revenue related. One of them's titles Lower Taxes for All North Carolina. Back in 2018, they passed a constitutional amendment, the people of North Carolina passed a constitutional amendment saying that 7% would be the cap on personal income tax. This would lower that to 3.5%, which initially that's kind of shocking. You're going, wait a minute, how does this work? Well, actually, the current rate is 3.99%.
And it's scheduled to go down again soon.
Right. So the legislature has been lowering the tax rate, and it's interesting. there was a lot of debate about this. It's like, is this being responsible as we look out into the future? What if there are greater revenue needs, more disasters like we've recently had? What was pointed out with the decrease in taxes, every year that's been happening so far, the additional revenues that have actually come in have been over $1 billion extra for each year. So the idea is, this policy is bringing in more business, more citizens, and the revenues are staying and that was part of the budget debate this year. Are there going to be enough revenue, resources still coming in, and especially if you do things like this? The point that was made also about constitutional amendment, if in fact people discover, wait a minute, this is not working, you can come back. Now granted, it won't be a quick process, but you can reverse this. But that did pass. The other one that's revenue related, which maybe you've heard a lot more about, is the property tax issue. I mean, there have been testimony in committees about increases as much as 70%. And what this proposed constitutional amendment would do on property tax, and they hadn't set out all the provisions about how this will work, but it will limit the percentage increase that would happen at the local level, and maybe be based on things like changes in population, inflation rate. So you wouldn't see a 70% increase. I mean, because it goes all into the stories about what does this mean for people like senior citizens who have fixed income. They paid for their house. All of a sudden, they can't afford to stay in their house because the property tax has gone up so much. Also, on the other side of the age, young people was looking at buying a house, but they're going, maybe I can buy the house, but I can't afford the house payment and the property tax. Right. So this would, again, put it before the people of North Carolina to allow the legislature to set some parameters on the increase. But as I say, both of those revenue bills passed both the House and the Senate. One thing to point out, just kind of an interesting side note, because we mentioned the majority that's required, the 3/5 vote. On the Senate, there were 30 members. The Republicans voted for. All those were the 30 votes that were needed and that happened in those. On the House side, there are 71 Republicans. Well, what happened with these overrides, there are 2 members who are currently unaffiliated.
Yes.
They were previously to this short session Democrat members, and they had voted in the past for veto overrides and other situations where it resulted in their being voted out of office. They were not, in their primaries, they were defeated. So what happened with them is they moved their registration from Democrat to unaffiliated. And both those members voted with the Republicans on these 2 bills. Quickly, 2 other ones.
Can I mention something real quickly?
Sure.
These, as you said, Jerry, these bills passed both the Senate and the House this week. The thing about proposed constitutional amendments is they are not subject to a gubernatorial veto. Right. And so these questions that you've just talked about will be on the ballot in November, right, unless the legislature comes back and says, oh, no, we're going to undo that, which they probably will not do. But unlike most other bills that pass the state legislature, constitutional amendment bills are not subject to a gubernatorial veto.
And that's also important to note. These bills are not now law because they will be on your ballot. You will see them in November, so you will get the opportunity to decide what these look like moving forward, whether they go into effect or not, and then the legislature will come back in many cases and effectuate the law.
And to go into effect, they need to receive a simple majority of the voters of North Carolina.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
So the 2 other, and then we'll look at one more of note.
Yeah, the 2 other ones, actually, maybe we'll go into more detail once they pass both chambers. One of them is the right to work amendment, which would basically, it's a law we've had for 79 years, would put it in the Constitution. The other one is how the Council of State vacancies are filled, would change the manner in which that occurs. They passed just one chamber on each of these, so they'll be brought up in the other chamber, probably in the next couple of weeks when they come back.
Very interesting. Now, Tanner, you and I were in the House K-12 committee this past week when H-144 was heard, and it's now moved to rules because it passed favorably from there, John. And it is a bill that would propose a constitutional amendment to directly elect state board of education members,
Right.
and then move the superintendent of DPI, the Department of Public Instruction, to be the chairman
be the
of
chair.
the SBE, or the State Board of Education. John, what do we need to know about that bill as it moves forward as a potential constitutional amendment?
Well, currently, the State Board of Education members of the State Board of Education are appointed by the governor. And the superintendent of public instruction, but is really a figurehead that is supposed to be over the Department of Public Instruction, but really has realistically very limited authority.
Yes.
And so the State Board of Education really runs education in North Carolina. I think we would probably all agree, and I'm putting this nicely because we're nice people, that the state of public education in North Carolina leaves a lot to be desired
Not
right
great.
now. And so it's good in some areas, it's not good in others, but it's unlikely for us to see significant changes in public education in North Carolina without a significant overhaul of the State Board of Education. One way to do an overhaul of the State Board of Education is just what this bill would propose, is to have a constitutional amendment that calls for members of the State Board of Education to be elected as opposed to appointed. And what this proposal is that there would be 14 members of the State Board of Education who are elected based on districts similar to our congressional elections in North Carolina. We currently have 14 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. They are elected in 14 districts throughout the state based on the congressional district map. This sets up a similar operation for these members of the State Board of Education that would be elected. It does not say that those 14 districts for the State Board of Education would mirror or be exactly the same as our congressional districts, but they could be. And that would be, kind of an easier way to go about it instead of drawing an entirely different map. And also the lieutenant governor and the state treasurer, I believe, are both also members of the State Board of Education, and they would maintain their seats on the State Board, so that would be 16 members, and then the superintendent of public instruction, who is currently elected but would be the chair of the State Board of Education, would be, I suppose, the 17th seat on the board. And so if this constitutional amendment proposal passes both chambers of the legislature, it would be on the November ballot this year, and then if it were to be approved, then the State Board of Election would be elected in the 2028 general election in November of that year.
So a lot to work through there.
Yeah.
We will let you know. It still has not made it to the House floor, but as it works its way through the process, certainly something that we care about. I think you're going to care about moving forward as far as the state of education, public education in the state of North Carolina. So we will keep you up to date about that. Another article that a team member wrote this past week, that we published this past week, is on marijuana and the governor's state advisory council on marijuana. You can read that article provided in the link provided below to learn more about that, and not California-ing our Carolina. It's a fun play on words there. But an amazing event, to turn the page a little bit, an amazing event, John. This past Thursday night in Raleigh, we hosted Chairman Ferguson of the Federal Trade Commission. And my goodness, not only was it eye-opening and informative, I think many people left our event just in awe of what I don't think many people know what the Federal Trade Commission even is, let alone what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, John, tell us about our dinner this past Thursday night.
Well, again, Chairman Andrew Ferguson, chair of the Federal Trade Commission, came and spoke. I heard him speak 3 times last year within a 3-week span, and was just incredibly impressed, not only of him as a person and just his intellect, but also his passion for a lot of issues that we care deeply about. And so basically the Federal Trade Commission has been exploring the issue of gender affirming care, so-called gender affirming care, and whether or not the administration of puberty blockers cross-sex hormones and gender transition surgeries on minors should be classified as an unfair and deceptive trade practice. And those within the medical community who take part in those things could be subject to significant penalties and other enforcement actions. The FTC is also going after big tech for failing to protect children against the harms of social media and technology, and also undermining parental rights and the parents' ability to decide and really administer oversight for their children when it comes to technology. And the chairman also spoke about a number of different and additional initiatives that the Federal Trade Commission is pursuing that were of great interest to our crowd. We were fortunate enough to video his remarks, and those will be available. If they're not already, they will be available on our website. So check the link underneath the video. It may already be there. I'm looking at Anna Scott right now, and she's shaking her head yes.
They are.
So the powers behind the camera have given us clearance that the Raleigh Dinner event, the video from that is available and will be a clickable link under this video.
Jerry, it was really cool. One of our staff members during our team time on Monday said that they were at the dinner, and one of their friends said they were at the dinner, and then they saw him on TV, the Federal Trade Commission chairman, the next day or so. He was standing beside Vice President Vance in regard to all of the investigation of fraud that's happening around the country. So the Federal Trade Commission chairman is everywhere.
Yeah.
And he is, and I just briefly mention the success he's having.
Yes.
It's one thing for a public official to be willing to say, this is something that needs to be addressed. I think he shared one example, and he's humble man, but I think it's things like a big tech example. It's like people go, no, you can't go there, because they can hire the best and brightest attorneys. They did go there, and they've been successful.
Yes.
So he not only sees important issues that need to be addressed, he's already in this 1 year plus having success.
Yeah.
So it's
very encouraging, very exciting. One more thing that we're very excited about is our brand new edition of Family North Carolina. If you haven't gotten it in your mailbox this week, you can go to our website. We've mentioned it a few times, ncfamily.org. You can sign up to get this in your mailbox. You're not going to want to miss this. I was telling Anna Scott, who helps design and edit this magazine, it's one of the best and prettiest magazines I think our organization's ever done. Unique Freedom of North Carolina, celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country. You want to get Family North Carolina. It is an awesome magazine. Get it today if you haven't already gotten it, ncfamily.org. Guys, one last thing. This weekend, Memorial Day.
Yep.
Memorial Day, and we are so grateful for the men and women who have given their lives to keep us free, uniquely free, and free to exercise our right of conscience, religious freedom, raise our families according to the dictates of our faith, and truly do the work that we do here and the upholding the values that you care about. It is because of men and women who have given their lives for our country. So I don't know whether to say Happy Memorial Day or not, but as you celebrate and observe Memorial Day this weekend, think about the freedom that we have.
And definitely have a blessed weekend with your families. Tanner, great to have you with us. Look forward to the coming weeks and the experience and your contributions. So, yeah, we got a lot to look forward to and are just super excited about what the future holds.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of this team right here, Anna Scott behind the camera, and the rest of our team here at NC Family, thank you for watching this week's Weekly Update video.